Okay, thank you. So welcome everyone to our Tuesday, October 4th, 2022 meeting. This is a hybrid meeting. We do have limited seating in the council chamber for those who don't realize that they can come in person. It's probably best to phone ahead to see if they can get in there, but and we're doing it virtually too. So it's hybrid and we're doing the best we can to get the message out. It's 9:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order and ask everyone to please turn your cell phones off or place them on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. I'll remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest if it arises. You can declare it now or you can declare it then if something pops up during the meeting. We have minutes here from our council meeting on September 20th. I'm going to look for a motion to receive those minutes if they're all in order. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we have 3 delegations today, and so we're going to move right into them. And our first one here is Rhonda Bateman. She's the Chief Administrative Officer. Janet Noyes, Manager of Development Services and Water Resources with Lower Trent. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Martin and councillors. Very nice to be here today. We were approached through council for the as a request for a watershed enlargement to include the southern area of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen into Lower Trent Conservation's jurisdiction. And as of our board meeting in September, our board agreed to move forward on next steps. And the first one of those next steps were coming here. So next slide, please. So basically what I'm going to talk about today is the geographic overview of our jurisdiction, the requirements for the enlargement, the next steps and post-approval. And Janet will be discussing planning and regulations because I think that's where your true desires lie. And then we can have a few minutes for questions if there are any. Next slide. This is our current jurisdictional map. We go, excuse me, right to the border of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen over adjacent to Trent Hills. And as you can see, we go all the way to Center Hastings and down to McCalderman, right down to the Lake Ontario and Bay of Quinte. So we have currently 7 municipalities with the addition of a agricultural rep that the Ministry of Environment placed on our council. There's been 5 representatives appointed across province, mostly in the southeast. And so we have 10 municipal members. And as you know, when we have a source protection area meeting, we also have Mr. Councillor Pomeroy, who attends on your behalf. So if once this process is complete, we will then have 12 members and 8 municipalities. So we're looking forward to that. Next slide, please. So here is the additional area that is proposed. As you can see in the green, in the dark green. So Crow is just above, Otonabee to the west, and Lower Trent to the south. This area, it makes sense to come into Lower Trent because the watershed itself feeds into the Trent River system. And it's about 27.2 square kilometers, I believe, from our GIS technician's view. Okay, next slide. So the requirements under the Conservation Authorities Act have been very streamlined from what it was just a few years ago. So to do the enlargement, the council of the municipality that is completely or partly outside the jurisdiction of the authority can call a meeting to consider the enlargement, over which we have the authority has jurisdiction to include the area specified by the municipality. We're good there. So this is a meeting that will happen in the future. So the notice of the meeting will be given to participating municipality of the authorities and to any municipality that is completely or partly within the area specified. Each municipality that receives notice of the meeting may appoint the number of representatives to attend the meeting. So basically, we had an enlargement for Trent Hills in 2018, And the legal representation, our legal representative at that time suggested that the appointments be the same as our board membership at the time. But because each municipality has the option to appoint someone else, it doesn't necessarily mean that the municipality is going to appoint the member that's currently in this seat. Now, right now with election time, we're not sure who's going to be on our board come December. So we'll send a separate email to our municipalities asking them to appoint people either to both or to one or the other. It would be nice, like what happened last time is they appointed for the board and they appointed for the enlargement vote as well. So it was the same group of people. So I'm really hoping that it's going to go that way. So we would have to have quorum of those representatives at a meeting, and quorum at for enlargement is 2/3. We don't usually have difficulty in getting quorum. We may have one or two individuals who may not be able to attend out of 10 normally. So, and the agricultural representative does not get a vote on enlargement under the Conservation Authorities Act. So that's what will happen at the meeting, the 2/3 majority vote, as I said. The resolution will take effect immediately if you so desire, or on a specified date right after that. And the resolution is then binding and it gets sent to the Minister of Natural Resources. And it's done. The ministry used to be the ones to set up orders and councils. They don't do that anymore. They get the information from the resolution and then we send them an email letting them know that this has happened. And they send not just the email, we send all the attachments of the meeting minutes and all that kind of stuff, and any public consultation we've had going forward. And then they just say, okay. Which is really unusual for the province to do that, but so next slide, please. Oh, sorry, we just went through that one. Next slide. So the next steps for the month of October. These are next steps on both our sides. I'm going to be developing the bylaw and communications regarding municipal appointments to the 7 municipal partners. I'll be sending out support letters to our neighboring CAs and contacting a surveyor to make sure that the CA enlargement legal wording is properly in place. And then in November, we're going to recommend that we can do it in conjunction, have a public consultation, open house, especially for the residents in the affected area. And your other residents, if you so desire. Don't know how big you want to make it, but it is always a good idea to personally invite those who are in the affected area. And we would do that with you. We would have staff representation here as well to answer any questions. And December to February, the municipal appointments will happen for the special meeting. And then in I guess February and March to post the notice of the special meeting, at least a 2-week minimum posting. We'd hold the special meeting for the resolution, and then after that's complete, notice out to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. So, the notice out to the ministry is interesting because the government has just put us back with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. They had us in Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks just recently, and it hasn't been publicly announced online or anything. It's quite interesting. So they've moved us back to the MNRF, and which is where we had been for 100 years prior. So no, since the beginning of conservation authorities in 1946. So so post approval, there'd be an appointment. Council would appoint a representative to the CA board. The board member would get trained on their roles and responsibilities. And we would do a levy apportionment determination. And then we would meet with staff here and to outline programs and services and develop agreements, our new agreements with Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. And now we have to have another planning agreement with the city, the county of Peterborough. And then the agreements would be passed by council and then we'd be all set. So we'd be all set once the appointment started. We would work all these other things in as quickly as possible so that everybody is up to speed right away. Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Janet now.
Okay. So thanks very much. I'm the water resources engineer on staff, and I'm also the manager of the planning regulations group. So we're a little group, but we have lots of fun. Sometimes. So Rhonda mentioned the planning and services agreement with Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So we have these agreements in place right now with our existing municipal partners. So the timing is really good because the last ones were all signed in 2018. So there's a statement in there to renew them or revisit them every 5 years. So 2023 is the year that we're looking at updating them and renewing them with all of our municipal partners. So it'll work out really well. We do have agreements in place, like with Northumberland County as the upper tier, because there are certain circulations that come to us from the county for planning services like subdivisions and severances and stuff like that. Same with Hastings County and our members that are in Hastings County too as well. So we have an agreement in place with them. We're working on that one. So that's why we would need to have an agreement with Peterborough County too as well, just because they're your upper tier for some of the planning decisions. So we would comment on any applications that are circulated to us. So we have a delegated authority by the province to comment on natural hazards. So that's flooding, erosion, dynamic beaches. Also in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, you also have karst lands. So that's some peat lands. So those are the natural hazards that we would be commenting on. And then the agreement that we have in place would be for sections 2.1 and 2.2 of the provincial policy statement. So those are about natural heritage features and about water. So water quality, water quantity, source water protection, that's stormwater management, those kind of things. And then our regulation 16306 is our regulation for development, regulation of development, site alteration, or I gotta get the. Anyways, it's about altering water courses, wetlands, shorelines. I always get the order mixed up. So we would comment on the planning letters about what implications are with this planning decision would have on impacts to the regulation too as well, and what would be required. And then because Peterborough County and you guys such are under the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, we would also comment on the implications of that act and what the whatever the application is for as well. Next slide. For the regulations in place, we'd update our mapping. You saw we have our awesome GIS department, so we'd be able to incorporate that and the additional regulated areas as defined under our act. We have support for inquiries, development, for site development, permits, planning. We have an online tool. Most conservation authorities are going that way anyways right now, and you have an online tool. You can submit your questions in and staff get back to you within a couple of days. So we're pretty up on that, and anyways, fairly responsive to those questions. And then people can book like a pre-consultation meeting if they want to talk more about, just general questions. So that's something that we would work on you with too as well. We issue permits under our regulation, and the Conservation Authority permits are required if there's a building permit that's required. Lots of times it's considered it is considered an applicable law. So if you're in an area that's regulated by a Conservation Authority, you actually have to have the Conservation Authority permits before you get a building permit. Complaints and enforcement. So that's a big part of what we do too as well. We get calls all the time about, is my neighbor doing this? Or, so we look into that too as well. And one of the things we'd really like to make it a strong statement about is working with the departments, the bylaw, the building department, the planning departments of the municipalities is really important. And developing those relationships and communications is a big part of what we'll be working for. And that's it for planning and regs, I think. Yep. Get Rhonda back up here for questions.
Okay. All right, then. Yeah, so the only question I had is not that they could handle any more, but why it would go through Trent instead of Crow Valley adding to their real estate. I don't think they could handle it anyways, but I just wondered what logic there is there as far as I understand the watershed comes into there, but just adds another layer to our planning process. So I'm not sure if Rhonda, you could answer that, but.
Because conservation authorities for the most part are set up on a watershed model, that's why it would be logical to have Lower Trent be the conservation authority that you would go with. As far as the second part of the question was about planning.
Yeah, just as far as having two conservation authorities to work through. We'll have two levies, I guess, and two people to contact with regards to building permits and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of municipalities in this area that have up to 3 conservation authorities, but there definitely will be a levy. It's not going to be as large as you may think, because the addition, as far as an apportionment, I've talked to M&R already just to get an estimate of the apportionment, and it would be 0.68 of percent of our levy, 0.68. So it's not that onerous, I don't believe. I'm not going to comment on the Crow. I know they're overtaxed right now as well. But to give you an idea, based on what we were hoping our levy was going to be this year, we also have a capital asset management plan in place. So there's an operations levy and an annual capital levy. The capital levy portion for this area would only be about $670. And the levy, this is estimated based on what I have right now, would be about $7,700.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's a lot better than, the Crow were 39%, so it's huge. So, okay, that's good to know. I'm going to open up to council if they have any questions. Barry, do you have your hand up?
I do.
Okay, and then Dave.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Ron and Jeanette for coming, because they've got everything laid out here that we need. This has been brought to light again, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago. And it's when we put a turnaround in and found out that water going south. So that's when we started. You seem to have everything laid out here just about 100%. As far as I'm concerned, it's like a no-brainer, because we don't have the signing authority. Crow Valley doesn't have the signing authority for to do building permits or anything. So we're at a standstill in that area. So we have to move forward. And I think we had the best 2 girls working on it from the Lower Trent, and you've got all the ducks are in the right spot in the water. So
if I could add something, the new regulations prohibit us from doing work on our, this is called the category 1, the planning and regulations. If we we can't, we could not come in and do it on a contract basis.
No,
And
understand.
because you're not in the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So we probably could have managed that a few years ago, but not any longer. So.
No, and jurisdiction is a big word and
All right, Dave, you had something? Oh, there you
Thank
go.
you, Mayor Martin. First of all, thank you for your presentations. Councillor Pomeroy has worked closely with you and closely with council to try and figure this all out, and it's taken a while. It's much appreciated. And we need it. And if we have to deal with two conservation authorities, then so be it. We'll have to do that because we need this area covered. Without throwing Crow Valley under the bus, there are municipalities in Peterborough County that are very displeased at the moment and have been for some time with Crow Valley. And I see someday that this is going to have to, we're going to have to try and expand this again. So anyway, thank you for your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or comments to the delegation? All right then, so for today then, Bob, what would you be looking for? Motion to receive the delegation?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, we can receive the delegation. Unless our guests are asking for anything other than that.
No. Nope.
No, good.
Okay, all right, for today then we'll get a motion to receive the delegation and we'll carry on with this this plan here. So Councillor Pomeroy, you're moving that?
yep.
Okay, and do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Giroux? Any other questions around this? All in favor? And that's carried.
Nice to talk to your chair down at the meeting too, Eric.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank you.
it.
thanks. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, so our second delegation here,
Can I take a picture over here? Is that all right? Sorry,
Sorry, you want to take a photograph?
a photograph of a photograph?
Sure. Of course.
Uncle Isaac.
Your uncle?
My husband's uncle, yeah.
Okay.
Uncle Ike, named my son after him.
Ah,
Thanks a lot.
Good.
thank you.
thank you. Okay, we're gonna move into our second delegation here and it's with SEMA. It's Mina Youssef and Marissa Scott. And it's with regards to the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant, so. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Martin and councilors for having us here today. So we're here to present the work that we've been doing on the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant class environmental assessment. And on the screen, we have the draft presentation for the second PIC. We've already had the first PIC, and the second one is scheduled for an in-person on November 8th, and the material will also be available online for the public to review and comment. So during today's presentation, I'll just be going through the material that we will be presenting to the public, and it will provide also an update of all the work that we've been doing with Aqua on the Havelock class environmental assessment. So again, for the PIC, why are we here? The township, as we all are aware, has undertaken a municipal class environmental assessment study to complete infrastructure upgrades at the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant. The objective of the Public Information Center is to provide an update on the project progress, present the evaluation of design concepts and the preferred solution that was developed, and also to provide an opportunity for the public to get involved in the project. And we'll need input from the public. And this will happen through reviewing the PIC presentation material and also the preferred solution that's being recommended. There will be opportunity for commenting both online and also at the in-person public information center. So the purpose of the class environmental study is to plan for additional wastewater servicing capacity to support growth in the village to 2041. That was established in the beginning of the project, and to identify improvements required at the plant to increase its capacity while minimizing impacts to natural and socio-cultural environments and reducing its life cycle costs. The Schedule C Municipal Class EA process has several steps. The first step is to review all the information and identify the problem statement. This was done back in August 2021, and a notice of commencement was issued and advertised so that public and also agencies know that the township is conducting the study. The problem statement that was identified was the township was planning on growth, specifically the Havelock South development area, which consisted of 3 phases of residential homes, Peterborough housing development, and also a long-term care facility. And then in addition to that, we also planned for growth over the next 20 years. The graph on the presentation shows the blue part is what the capacity at the wastewater treatment plant is at the moment. The extension, the orange extension, and the bar shows where it needs to be to accommodate all that growth. And the red line shows where the plant is operating currently at its along its capacity. So after the notice of commencement was issued, the next steps were to explore the options for addressing the opportunities and also identifying the potential impacts of each of those options. Following exploring all the options, the preliminary preferred solution was identified, and it was presented in March 2022 in the first public information center, which was held virtually at the time. And in the first PIC, we those long list of servicing alternatives included doing nothing, limiting community in the growth, reducing inflow and infiltration, expanding the existing Havelock wastewater treatment plant, constructing a new wastewater treatment plant on the existing site, or constructing a new wastewater treatment plant on a new site. So of all those options, it was recommended that the township continue working on reducing I&I, but that in itself wasn't sufficient to address the accommodating the growth. So the preferred solution was to expand the existing Havelock wastewater treatment plant, and that was presented in the first PIC. So following the first PIC, the next steps were to, now that we know we have to expand the plant, we looked at several design concepts to expand the plant. And that's what will be presented at, that's what's being presented in the current PIC. And following the PIC, second PIC, we will prepare a report, the project report, and file it for public review, giving the public an opportunity to comment on the study. And then the notice of completion will be issued. And then following the notice of completion of the study, then the project can proceed to implementation, which is the design and construction phase of the overall project. So right now we are at PIC number 2. So to present an overview of the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant, the plant is located at 719 Old Norwood Road, rated capacity of 1,200 meters cubed per day. And it was constructed in 2009. It's shown on the figure on the left. And on the figure on the right shows the study area that we looked at for the class environmental study. Plant consists of several key processes: pumping station, aseptic receiving facility, headworks, which is also referred to as preliminary treatment, SBR treatment tanks, equalization tanks, filtration, chemical addition for phosphorus removal, disinfection, sludge treatment, and then an outfall pipe to Plato Creek. It should also be noted that when the new plant was constructed in 2009, the existing lagoons were decommissioned and abandoned at that time. Before this plant was built, the existing lagoons were utilized for treatment and seasonal discharge. And this slide here shows a picture of the decommissioned lagoons. So to select the preferred wastewater design concept, the Class A process involves several steps. Step 1 was to identify and screen alternative solutions, which was identifying that we needed to expand the existing wastewater plant. The second step was to develop several design concepts and evaluate each one. And then the final step was to identify the preliminary preferred option, because we call it preliminary because it has to go through public consultation in order to confirm that it is the preferred solution. So an overview of the wastewater treatment process. Influent is conveyed to preliminary treatment, and in preliminary treatment is where we get rags being removed, grit being removed. Following preliminary treatment, it goes through secondary treatment, and in there is where organic matter, ammonia, and suspended solids are reduced. Following secondary treatment, it goes to tertiary treatment or filtration in the case of the Havelock Wastewater Treatment Plant. And in filtration, small particulate solids and phosphorus is reduced. And then the final treatment process is disinfection, where pathogens are eliminated before being discharged to Plato Creek. To identify the treatment process required for each of these processes, an assimilative capacity of Plato Creek had to be conducted, and that was done as part of the Class A. And the assimilative capacity tells us how much can be discharged to Plato Creek in terms of phosphorus, ammonia, BOD, suspended solids, or total solids. So following completion of the assimilative capacity, we presented it to the ministry, and the ministry was accepted the study or the recommendations of the study, and that's what helped us determine the technologies required at the treatment plant. So for preliminary treatment, we're proposing that the same technology that exists right now at the plant will be utilized. It will just need to be expanded to accommodate the increased capacity. For secondary, secondary again involves removing organic matter, ammonia, and suspended solids. There were several technologies reviewed. And based on the assimilative capacity completed, there'll be additional ammonia removal required under the expansion. So additional secondary treatment the existing is unable to treat to that level. So additional secondary treatment processes are required to help accommodate the expansion. So we looked at several technologies that fall under secondary treatment, and sequencing batch reactor SBR, which is what's currently at the facility, was selected as the preferred technology. So we're looking at adding a third train and still keeping the existing SBRs as is. For filtration, again, it's for removing small particulate solids and phosphorus. There were two approaches looked at as part of the assimilative capacity. Can go to the next slide. Plato Creek is very sensitive to phosphorus. So we looked at two options for the treatment plant. One involved continuous discharge, which is what's happening right now. And what that leads to is very strict effluent objectives. The other option we looked at was using the abandoned lagoons for equalization for storage and limiting how much discharge is being limiting the amount of discharge during sensitive periods in the creek. So during low flow periods, that's when the creek is most affected by or most sensitive to phosphorus. We would utilize the lagoons to store during that period and discharge outside of that period. So based on these two options, two technologies were selected. Deep bed filters, which is what's at the plant right now, and also two-stage filtration. So two-stage filtration is essentially putting in two deep bed filters back to back. So it's going through one set of filters, and then after that it goes again through the same set of filters. So it's getting treated twice to get it down to that very low phosphorus concentrations. Disinfection, it's for eliminating pathogens. We looked at several technologies. But at the end, it's been recommended that we stick with the same technology that's there at the plant, which is ultraviolet disinfection. So based on those the selected technologies, we looked at several design concepts. The first design concept looked at expanding the plant without utilizing the lagoons. And that would involve upgrades to the preliminary treatment. So increasing the raw sewage pumping station that's at the plant, increasing the screening and grit capacity in the headworks building. Secondary treatment involved adding a new SBR tank. Filtration involved increasing the capacity of the existing filters and adding a second set of filters to achieve the low phosphorus requirements. Disinfection looked at adding another UV bank next to the existing UV to increase the overall capacity of the disinfection system. This is a summary of design concept, the upgrades proposed under design concept 1. And this illustrates the areas in the plant where the preliminary expansion would occur and the SBR's expansion would occur, and also the filtration and UV. What's not shown here is also the biosolids tank would need to be expanded. That's design concept 1. Design concept 2 involved looking at using one of the existing lagoons for equalization. So not for So under this option, we still continue continuous discharge. So we're not limiting flow during low phosphorus period, but the lagoon is being utilized to act as a buffer to limit the peaks that are going through the plant. So under this design concept, the lagoon would be modified, would be cleaned, repaired by adding liner in the lagoon, and then adding also a new pumping station to help pump flow to and back from the lagoon to the plant. The secondary treatment would still require an additional SPR tank. Tertiary treatment, because we are doing continuous discharge, we would require putting in a second stage filtration system. Then this is a summary of the upgrade. So under this option, preliminary treatment will not need to be upgraded because the lagoon is there to help provide a buffer in peak events, and also the disinfection system doesn't need to be upgraded because, again, the lagoons are providing a buffer for the flow. But the SBRs and the filters will need to be upgraded to achieve that additional performance requirements from the assimilative capacity study. This shows the areas that will need to be upgraded within the plant. Design concept 3 looked at utilizing both existing lagoons to store effluent, to store secondary effluent. And what this option does is it limits the discharge from the plant during the low flow periods in Plato Creek. So under this option, we need to increase the pumping station capacity and also screening capacity in the preliminary treatment. A new SBR tank would still be required. Then tertiary filtration, we need to expand the filter capacity, but it would be single stage filtration instead of dual stage. And then increase the UV disinfection system capacity would be required under this option. And the lagoons, both lagoons would need to be drained, cleaned, repaired, and a new pumping station installed. That's the overall summary of design concept 3. And illustration of the areas that would need to be upgraded within this concept. Design concept 4 also looked at using the existing lagoons for storage. This would be for final effluent storage. So after it's gone through all the treatment. So this option involves upgrades to the preliminary treatment facility, which the raw sewage pumping station and screening facility. Secondary, we need additional SBR. Tertiary, increasing filtration capacity, but again, it's single stage filter, not dual stage. Disinfection would UV disinfection system would need to be upgraded. Then the lagoons, also both lagoons, drained, cleaned, repaired, put back in service with a pumping station. This is a summary of the works and the areas that would need to be upgraded within the plant. So to determine the preferred option, we looked at several criteria, and for each criteria, looked at which one determined a score for each option based on each criteria. So the criteria we looked at was fell under several categories. So first, under social culture, we looked at public and operator health and safety, aesthetic and operational impacts, construction impacts, archaeological and cultural heritage features. Under natural environment, we looked at effluent receiving water, body assessment, sensitive natural features and regulated areas, climate change. Under technical, we looked at operational complexity, ease of implementation, redundancy and flexibility, energy efficiency, constructability, regulatory approvals. And then finally, under financial, we looked at life cycle capital and O&M costs. So for each design concept, we use the Harvey-Ball method, so comparing one against the other and which one comes out the best under each one, and then we added up the total score, and based on all the evaluation criteria, design concept 2 was identified as the preliminary preferred option. So design concept 2 involves utilizing the existing lagoon for influent equalization. So using one of the lagoons for equalization, building a new SBR tank, new dual stage filters, preliminary treatment and disinfection expansion would not be required. And then there's also some other expansions that would be required, such as biosolids tank and general civil, mechanical, electrical upgrades. And the cost, overall capital cost for design concept 2 is 14 million. And then the next steps would be to prepare the environmental study report document, which will also look at staging of the work. And that's important because the upgrades do not have to be implemented all at once. It can be staged in a manner that matches the flow coming into the plant. Like we've seen council, or we've seen the township working on reducing the influent infiltration, and we've actually noticed recently the flows coming down at the plant. So there could be some expansion or some works happening now, and then other works deferred to later until the flow reaches about 90 to 95% of the plant capacity. So that will be included in the study report and presented to council, and also put out to the public for review and filing with the ministry. This time I'm like to take any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, a lot to that report, and lots of money in the end, but it's something that we've been working on for quite a few years here to try and prepare ourselves for expansion. And I did have a question around the concept too, but I understand it better that now that you explained it, how you got to that point. So for today, I'm thinking we must just need something to, we don't want to stall this. It looks like it's about midway by the schedule that you had there. But that being said, I'm not sure how big a rush, like, you know, does it have to be done yesterday, or it's a lot of money to come up with. And one of the questions I had yesterday was around our reserve and the wastewater treatment plant. It's almost 14 years old now, so we've been contributing to the reserve since it was built, and I would think we have a pretty hefty reserve there too. That was for the planning of expansion in the future. So I think that's something we'll have to look at, but I'll open up to council for any questions, and then I'm not sure what you want for a motion here, Bob, that we can keep this moving. Whether it's to carry on with the 30-day review period. I don't know whether you need a motion for that, but I'll open up to council first, and then we'll come back to you. So council got any questions or it about this? Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Excuse me, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. As you stated, a lot of information there, and no matter how many times you read it, you almost get lost in it. But it's a good report. I was glad to see a little information, or you spoke to the infiltration, which is important. And I would think that with our infrastructure that's planned in the near future, that should improve infiltration. So anyway, yeah, great report. That's my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, we can't stop now. We gotta go ahead and there is some infiltration. We know that for sure because the water table is way down now and our numbers are down. So we know that that is a problem. And you know, we do have a big problem right on number 7 highway here. If you just drive down number 7, all the manholes, you know, kerthump, kerthump. And they've got to be brought up. It's I know we were at the Good Roads Convention and our road superintendent was with us and we, you know, we had different people there with different solutions and it seems that when you put cement in, we have an enormous amount of trucks go through on 7 here, so they break the rings when you put them in. And there's new products out there that, you know, can be used and they say they're guaranteed. Well, everything's guaranteed until they run over them, but we got to do something because that's one of our big contributors as far as I'm concerned. I know we have aging infrastructure underground too that we've done some camera work on. We've done some relining. I think there's a couple other spots that we have to look at. But we sure can't stop now. We got, you know, we gotta carry on this project and see where, you know, the end result is. I know you've came up with, you're halfway through it, but we can't stop now.
Is there any other comment? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Thank you for your presentation. Councillor Ellis has made the comment that no matter how many times you read it, it's still for the layman quite a bit to understand. We've been dealing with this for some time. We have to move forward. I think we will find a lot of infiltration perhaps when we start George Street here in the very near future. And that'll take care of some of the stuff. But I do appreciate your presentation this morning. And I think we'll move forward with the next, for me, the only thing is moving forward with the next step. And if the CEO requires our clerk CEO requires a motion to receive this delegation and to move forward, I'd be happy to make it.
Okay. Bob, do you have an idea of what we can receive this and carry on with the process of the public comment and the agency comment? Is that where we would go next?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. The resolution would be to proceed with the environmental study report and the public information center that will take place November the 8th and the 30-day review period for public and agency comment.
Okay, does that sound good to you, Deputy Mayor Giroux?
Thank you. That's great.
Okay, so moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. Any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, well, thank you. That was a great report. And yeah, we'll continue moving forward on the infiltration and all the other things around this. And thank you for the delegation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Martin. Thank you, councillors.
Okay, we have another delegation here with Amber Copeland from Aqua and Brad Robinson, Jordan Easton, West Hanbury. The chamber must be full. So we'll move into the next delegation here. Welcome, Amber.
Welcome. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Martin, Deputy Mayor Giroux, and councillors and staff. Aqua just wanted to provide an update on workings going on in all of Havelock. If I could just go to the next one. I will be jumping in and out. I've asked Brad and Jordan to provide some updates just to give me a break, but I guess I gave it to them at the very beginning. So when it comes to the water treatment side, I'm gonna ask Brad to step in for the potassium permanganate pilot that we're completing, and I'll just be around if needed.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, it's potassium permanganate injection on the raw water to oxidize the iron and manganese. To take it from a soluble form to a precipitate, so it can be removed in the clarifier and the filters. So it's a 6-month trial that started in July, so maybe like January, February, we'll have like a report update you on that. It is going well, fairly well. It's not perfect yet. We've only got it operating at about 20% capacity, so 3 liters per second. And at some point in the near future, we'll hopefully run it to the town and see what we come up with. That's all ministry approved. And the well only was operating at about 7 liters per second on a good day to begin with. So that's just to keep in mind that we could only operate it at 50% capacity without removing the iron and manganese. So that explains it well enough, but any questions?
I could say, if you have any questions throughout, because we're going to jump through different topics, please feel free to speak up. I can't see the virtual, so maybe just speak up if you have any questions. Just some background on the potassium permanganate pilot. Brad, as most people know, that there's an iron manganese issue in well 3, and we can't run it at too often to the distribution because it has a color issue, but the regulations for health and for Reg 170 is it's safe drinking water. It just has a tinge to it, which isn't favorable for anybody when they want to take a glass of water. So Brad was taking a training course in Jordan, and they ended up meeting a gentleman in South River that has the exact same issue. And thanks for virtual, we wouldn't have probably met this individual, but during the virtual training course, he contacted him after. The system is a surface water system, different from the well, but it's very similar to Havelock. We went up and saw them, and Brad kind of took the lead on this pilot study. And like he said, it's been running fairly good right now. We still have some things to work out just because it's a whole new different kind of treatment. But like you said, just we're only at 20% of the plant's production. So 6-month pilot, and we'll be able to give you a better understanding and a full report probably by the start of the new year.
Sounds good, because that's one of the things. We do seem to have lots of water. It's just the issues around that well, and it would be so nice if we could get that fixed up. Is there any questions for that part of the presentation, Council?
Yep.
Go ahead, Barry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, this past year, we had to put number 3 on for a short period of time, didn't we?
No,
We not?
no, it hasn't gone to distribution. Nope, it's just been running.
Last fall.
Yeah, maybe last fall.
That's because we lost the.
Yeah, time flies by pretty quick when you're. First of all, the cleaning of the filter, did it do it, or the screen, did it do anything?
Yes, that was just preventive maintenance, but yeah, that's definitely been helpful.
Okay, and secondly, if it's close enough, because I'm on near Old Marwood Road, eh?
Yeah.
And I did not realize that we were on well 3 for a while. Because usually if there's any discoloration, one of the first ones to get it, so.
Okay.
And I got no complaints. The only complaint we had, well, I think when they changed a pump down in the park.
Yep.
And there was one person complained in town down there, but I mean, I was quite surprised that we were running on the other well there for a while.
Yeah, I think the preventative, I didn't, sorry, but the preventative maintenance that we've done with the filter and the cleaning of the well, I think definitely helps too.
So I just wondered how, you know, without getting into a lot of different options. Oh, I know the water's pure enough to drink, and we had terrible discoloration before. Now it isn't near, or the last time it was on, it wasn't near as bad, because if I don't get any complaints, you know, and we used to get them a lady doing their washing and so on and so forth. And I wondered what had happened over there, to tell you the truth, because you know, like a glass of water at home, it was not that much different than what we normally have.
Right.
Like very, very unnoticeable if you didn't know.
Yeah.
So.
I think
And
the big thing with the manganese too is if you're getting, like, say 98% of it or 99, it'll look fine today, but after a couple of years, it could really build up in your distribution system too. So that's what we're trying to get to right now, is like close to 100% removal. Before we
Of the manganese.
of the manganese.
So I think it was 2 years ago, maybe, could be to the date, to be honest, that we decided, like we brought to council, and it was passed that we should start working on well 3 a little bit more, just because of the upgrades. Following that, we did, I believe it was around, I think I had asked for approximately 40,000 to do just some quick preventative maintenance. That was changing the filter media, as well as getting the well cleaned and just doing some extra sampling. And luckily it came in under the quote that I had been given, which was wonderful, that we actually were able to bring in a consulting firm to come in and just take an extra look at well 3. And they did recommend the potassium permanganate to be one of the best solutions right now, especially cost effective compared to other solutions such as ozone. So Brad was able to, once he did the training course, he was able to get in touch with the gentleman. With the pilot study, it was roughly $1,000 to get started and up and running. So we took advantage of that option, or that offer, and we've been running since, using potassium permanganate. We haven't gone to distribution. I should say that we did go to the ministry ahead of time. We have all the approvals, the samples, everything that's required by us has been completed. So we are able to go to distribution, but we want to tweak it first. We want to get it as perfect as we can. So that could be just because of all the preventive maintenance we've done for the last 1.5 years, that you would have seen such a, I guess, a flip positive side to well 3 when it was in operation in the fall last year.
yeah, well, everything's you do is an improvement.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can rectify the problem so that we don't have to keep switching back and forth, and there's got to be something. And I think, well, you probably are on the right track. You don't know unless you try.
Right. Correct.
And I just have to thank you guys for trying different things. I know the ozone got way out of whack. Like they came in at $50,000 when we did the trial run, and then a year later, 1.5 years later, you want to buy it. Well, everything went up in price, and it was more than double. So
Yeah.
it's not feasible.
Right.
Well, it would be if we had to really do it, but
Right.
if there's other options, because we can't expand, for subdivision or whatever. That's why we have the lower Trent here, is to try to rectify that problem. And then we have our well and wastewater, so like it's all coordinating, so that because our developmental land is going to be so.
Okay, well, thank you. Deputy Mayor Dro, you had a question?
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Through you, I want to thank Amber and Brad for the presentation and comment on the pilot project. With very little money to get started. And it sounds like the pilot project is working. We haven't had a lot of time to get it fine-tuned, but this could be the cheapest solution for our residents that use the water we'll ever find. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and keep going, and hopefully the crew will get this fine-tuned and we can get her on. I know that the government said that, I think it was 6 months, if I'm correct, Brad, that if everything was going, we could do a trial right through. And I want to thank you for providing council that information, that we don't want to build up of the iron manganese. So thank you for the presentation.
Okay, I'm not sure if I've seen Councillor Webb's hand up. If not, we'll move into the next part of the presentation there, Amber.
No, go ahead, Jim.
Okay.
So just for the next item is an update on aquifer levels. I've just asked Jordan to come and speak to that, please.
So we got some updates, just the well levels are looking still all right. Like they're the well tech recommends having 10 feet of water above the well pumps. And we look back at historical data and they're still like above the lowest that they have been. In 2006, they actually believe went dry at one point. We're above that. We're about, so they recommend at least having 10 feet above the well pumps. We're just over 11 feet above well pumps. So, and hopefully since we're getting like the fall, we'll be getting more rain and we're out of the dry season. Hopefully they'll start to look better.
Okay, perfect. And we're just gonna keep monitoring, but right now we don't feel like it's an issue. Just wanted to give an update just because aquifer levels are usually a hot topic throughout the summer and into the fall. So just letting you know that we are keeping an eye on it. And right now, so far so good. Another, I guess, just to tie that into is if we do get well 3 in a good state, you know, that would also give a lot of relief to the aquifer levels at well 1 and 4. So if no questions, I can move to the water tower warranty work.
Okay, sounds good.
So the tower was constructed, oh geez, I've lost the year.
16.
Was it 16? I was gonna say 2017. So December of 2016, and there is warranty work that is required for the water tower. When we originally talked to the company that designed it and constructed it, the warranty work should have taken place last year. However, because there was a flooring issue at the base of the water tower, they extended the year warranty. So now we're right on track to get the water tower warranty work completed. There was talk about draining the tower and running off PRVs, but because we have just small concerns about the aquifer levels, we've asked the company RV Anderson to consider just a robot inspection. So that will be taking place on October 20th. They're going to be here around 10 a.m. There's nothing needed from the town or Aqua just to be prepared. It's more or less just a robot's going to go in. They did ask that if there are antennas on the tower, which I'm not sure if there is, so that's why I'm bringing it to your attention, they will need to be turned off. So just something that I wanted to bring to your attention, and if we could find out if there is antennas on the top, and if there is a company that I could get in touch with to have them turned off for the 20th. If they have a lot of
I think we had it removed. The police used to have a tower on.
okay.
Their building's gone.
Yeah, there's no antennas on there, Amber.
Oh,
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to bring everyone up to speed that the warranty work's going to be completed on time, on schedule, no antennas. So on October 20th, you'll see your presence around the water tower.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Council-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna just back up just a little wee bit. On the depth of the wells,
Mhm.
you know, the aquifer. And council here has been talking about putting in a station for the sell water. I don't agree with it personally, but that's my own personal feeling. But I would like an opinion, Ontario Clean Water Agency. Knowing what our water is, what our levels are, is it a good idea? I'm gonna rate it blank as can be, and I personally, I think that it's gonna put a strain on it.
It's like the one we have on Highway 7, Amber,
Yeah.
where,
It's free on Highway 7, correct?
But we can't turn it off.
You can.
Yeah, we do turn it off.
I have been approached by the township to look into a water filling station. To be completely honest, I'm not sure how much a water filling station produces, I guess, over the course of a year, or what the typical average flow would be for that. So if okay, I'd like to look into that first before I provide like a response. I think when it comes to water filling stations, I would assume they're probably taking place mostly through the summer with camping, but again, I don't know much about them. I'm not familiar with the stations. I do know there is some towns that Aqua operates that do have them, so I could look into that a bit more. Off the top, maybe I am a little cautioned by it just because the aquifer levels sometimes are a problem. If the water filling station was hooked up to L3, I wouldn't have an issue. But right now, I'm not sure I have enough knowledge to comment, but I will definitely look into it.
Thanks.
yeah, we're not looking at tankers, but we would consult you before we ever did anything like that anyways, Amber. It's just jugs. It's not like a tanker thing like they have at Cavan or
Mhm.
Millbrook.
Right.
It's a jug filling station similar to what we have on Highway 7, but we would consult you before we got into that. And I was wondering that anyways, now that you brought it up, as far as tankers, we should be in the summertime offering that out, and there is people around to use that water if we're not using it, you know? But that's another day. Let's keep on track here with this thing here, and we will consult Aqua before we do anything there.
Yeah, for sure. I'll make note and do some research.
Yeah, it was already passed at budget that we go with this station, but that should be part of the process. So, Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment for Amber. In the future, if we get into a situation of extremely low water levels, it might be good information for Amber to know that we do have the ability to shut that off. So if we're in a drought or in a very low aquifer condition, that could be shut off. Just letting Amber be aware that option is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you, Councillor Ellis. It's we've had a couple issues in the past where we've needed to ask for reduced flow and ask for the town to stop watering grass or odd and even days. I never think of that filling station, so I assume when it comes to that the township's doing it, but I'll definitely make notes so that I can remind if needed. I wasn't aware it could be turned up.
Thank you.
So I will move on to wastewater collection, inflow and infiltration work. As Nina had mentioned in the SEMA report that it's called I&I. So this is a lot of work the township has been putting towards, and we've been seeing some really positive numbers. I know I better refer to my notes here before I go on a tangent, but we completed some in the late spring. I had proposed to council in our capital work for 2022 that we'd spend approximately 65,000 on I&I work in the collection system. And to be quite frank, it's once we get the approval, it's too late. So In the springtime, at the very beginning of the spring, that's when the I&I work needs to be completed. But once we get, council has to approve the entire capital that or major maintenance or anything that goes on with the 2022 budget. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think it was like around April, we missed a really big window there for us to do I&I. So what I'd like to propose at this time is we've asked for 65,000. I've spent approximately 29,000 of that in the late spring to get the work done. The water wasn't high enough, the water table. So I stopped the work to make sense to spend the money. I'd like to please ask for that remaining dollar of $36,391 to be carried over to the spring of 2023. And then as soon as there's ample frost, I can get that crew right back in and working. We did see a lot of things during the late spring, but I think we would see a lot more and more work could be completed to help seal that. So that will be one ask that I would be delegating to council today. And if approved, I would like to add that to my capital list that I give to you at the end of October.
Okay. Yeah, so it's in the budget already then, Bob, so I'm sure we can do that still.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, it is an existing item in the budget. We simply carry it forward.
Okay. You want the motion at the end of this?
We can take the motion right now so we don't forget.
Okay. So I'll look for a motion moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried, that we carry over I think it's 33,000 and change.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Moving on to the Highway 7 backup generator. We have a technician and we're required to have the generator annually inspected. It's a DUTE system, which doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm gonna quote the technician if I can at this time. She recommends a new generator and transfer switch, and I quote, "That DUTEs will run forever, but there are a number of parts that are obsolete in both the engine and electrical. Also noted some compliance issues with the air intake, exhaust, and ground fuel piping." So just to summarize, that generator was built to last and it probably will forever, but unfortunately the parts are hard to get. So this is something that I will have to put into capital next year, but just to let you know that this is something coming. The Highway 7 sewage pump station is your only pump station in the Havelock system. So if power goes out, that generator does not run, we would have problems. So I will be putting that into capital. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And I know typically, as far as I understand, I think I'm just going to look at Brad and Jordan to confirm that if there's natural gas that goes through that, because we have a heater there, right?
Natural gas, providing it, then they have to expand it.
Yeah, so there is natural gas there because there's a heater, but it may need to be expanded, maybe for that reason, but there's two options. So you can go with a fuel system or you can go with a natural gas. I know you've used natural gas in the past, so I am currently working on quotes for the township. So I will provide that to you again in the capital list in October.
Very good.
The Class EA, as what Mina and Marissa were on site for today, that was the draft presentation. It's scheduled for. So there is a virtual online material that will be available October 25th for anyone that can't attend the in-person or wants to prep for the in-person. The in-person session is scheduled for November 8th. And an advertisement for that will be provided soon from SEMA, and we'll pass it along to HBM staff for posting on their social media and website. I believe Bob has tentatively booked is it above the arena? I know it's called.
Through you, Mayor Martin, we have booked space at the community center for that November 8th. Public Information
And
Center.
then I'm just gonna, I'll be able to finalize a time with SEMA, but I think we had tentatively booked a start date for 1 o'clock, and then I'll determine the end date once again, the end time.
Perfect.
Excuse me, Amber, if I could just elaborate on that, how long will the virtual session will be 3 weeks?
1 week,
So the virtual
sorry, I
session
asked me.
will be posted online,
Right.
right? And it'll stay online. But we'll give the public a opportunity to comment up to, let's say, 2 weeks after the in-person
Okay,
PIC. So they'll have from October 25th till 2 weeks after November 8th to provide. their
okay, so roughly a month. Yeah, roughly, okay. Thank you.
So if no questions, just our general update. So proposed capital is something that Aqua provides the township. I believe I'm sworn to an agreement of October 31st, so I usually will provide that before then. And it will have water, wastewater, any collection and distribution capital works that needs to be considered for 2023, as well as we do a 6-year rolling capital, just so it keeps you prepared for any future work. I'd be happy to attend I guess maybe in the new year when capital is being discussed. I'd be happy to attend and talk to any of the items listed. I know that was a request a couple of months ago, maybe. And finally, so for new and existing council, there's standard of care training. There's one actually virtual if preferred, but there is an in-person one at the Arts in Center Hastings, which is beside the skate park and the splash pad. I don't know the date quite yet. You and the time, but M.A. Hennessy is my business development manager, and she'll be sending you an email as soon as it's, I guess, dialed in. It's supposed to be scheduled later this week, so you should receive an email or something that we heard next. And that's Aqua's update. If there's any questions, happy to take them.
So probably after that standard of care training would be a good time for any new council to, like, it will help them when it comes to budget time and how important this is and the responsibility of elected officials around water. It'll make things a little easier for them to understand when we get into the budget, I would think. So I would imagine, I think I remember going to that one out there in Madoc. So and it's good you have both options there because of the way things are going right now. So
Yeah.
Is there any questions for council? Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I just have one, and it's budget. When are we gonna start budget? Like, I know I hate to dump everything on a new council, but we're gonna have a new council here. I feel like we should help out, with getting this started earlier. We tried it here a few years ago. Last year, we were halfway through the year before we got our budget approved, which is not good.
So I know
we're gonna have to have some answers, if we're going to try to start the budget anyway before we're finished.
Yeah, so staff has started on the budget and we have just over a month left in our term here. So no matter what, it's going to come to the new council. So
yeah,
hopefully there's enough history in the presentation that'll help move it forward. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Bob.
No, through you, Mayor Martin, just to further to Aqua's presentation, capital list will be brought forward in November. So we will certainly receive that, and that will be part of our budget discussions. And you're correct, staff is starting the background work on budget. We will be posting online for public input. And indeed, that process will go into the next term of council.
Okay. All right, then, is there any other questions for Amber? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion to receive the delegation.
Motion to receive, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Amber, and everyone
Thank you.
there for this. It's a good presentation, and we probably need more of them once things open up a little bit better here.
Yeah,
Thanks, Amber.
thank you all. Okay.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you. Okay, we're at 11 o'clock right now. We're going to be going into staff reports for information. I just wonder what council's thoughts. You want to take a 5-minute recess and then we'll come back and get into the rest of the balance of the
Okay. Yep.
agenda. Okay, 5-minute recess moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Okay, thank you, Bianca. I'll look for a motion to resume the meeting. Deputy Mayor Giroux and Councillor Ellis, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we're going to move into staff reports for information. And the first is with the deposit return from the Lions Club, and they gave us a report there on what they've collected. Are there any questions around that? I had a couple of dates just kind of didn't look right. September 7th, 2021, there was 3 times deposits. I don't know whether they went in 3 times and did it, or, and July 8th was the same. There was 2 deposits, but not a big deal. There's a number there to work with, and it wasn't as high as I thought. So, Councillor Webb, go ahead.
I believe at least on the September 7th date, Mr. Mayor, they did do at least 2 pickups that day. I don't know about the 3rd, but I know they had to go back and do a second pickup, but that was,
Okay.
That's just the September 7th date.
Okay. All right, then. So we have some numbers there. Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment. I know we've got issues there with bottles being stolen after hours, I guess it is. I'm just wondering for the Lions Club themselves, to get the benefit of what they're trying to establish there. I know when we first allowed them to come in and do that, they were going to supply a trailer, which could be locked up, for an example, at the end of the day, where the evening bandits that have been going in there wouldn't be able to have access to the bottles. So I'm just curious whether that information should be shared with the Lions members, so they're aware they're losing out. And again, back when we first allowed this to set up there, that was my understanding that they were going to have a trailer there. And if they did do that, they could lock it at the end of the day. It'd be to their benefit, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, if we wanted to put that in the agreement, it would have to be in there because it won't be the Lions maybe forever. Maybe next year it'll be Scouts or whatever. So for them to go purchase something to lock them up, it might not be worthwhile, especially at the numbers that we're seeing there. So that might be something to look at when we do the contract again. Whoever it is, it would be their option to lock it up, or we could put something there.
Well, and that was the other part of the agreement when we allowed them to go in there. They're supposed to be sharing it with other groups. And we've never received any documentation as to what they are doing with the bottles. Are they sharing?
Yeah. Okay, so that might be something for another, like I said, we received that report a long time ago about where their contributions go, because I know they can't keep anything. So whether it's going to surviving or what it's going to, that might be something that we need at future report of what their donations were to this year.
I believe the Lions do owe council some documentation regarding expenses. Maybe that would be included when they bring that forward.
Okay. All right then. Do you want that in the motion? You want a motion for that, Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, simply a motion to receive unless there's action required there.
Well, just as part of what Councillor Ellis is saying, so when, I guess that's for another part of this, but we'll make sure when the other report comes that we find out, you know, what the contributions are for. So yeah, today it'd be a motion to receive the report.
Yeah, motion to receive, Mr. Mayor, and yeah, we can follow up, follow that documentation issue further. Thank you.
Okay. So moved by Councillor Ellis that we receive this report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Webb? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and the next report is a closed session summary for meetings. Motion to receive that report from Bob. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so next we're going to move into staff reports for follow-up action. And the first is from the Deputy Chief Building Official, Rob Lamar, with regards to the property standards bylaw and improvements to the existing property maintenance regulations. Hi, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep my comments brief. So the report before council this morning is essentially a culmination of some work that was undertaken by staff to refine the tools available to us to respond to issues related to the standard and maintenance of properties in the township. You know, the process was really staff driven. We had input from our chief building official, our bylaw enforcement officer, obviously our CAO as well, and I think it's resulted in a series of recommendations that will give us some additional tools, right, that will allow us to better respond to concerns that we get from the general public. So essentially, the recommendation is that the council pass the proposed property standards bylaw, which was essentially reviewed by council at the last meeting. There haven't been any changes to the body of the report, or sorry, the body of that bylaw since council was provided with the draft at the last meeting. And in addition to that recommendation, we're asking that we make some slight changes to the clean yard bylaw and the fees for service bylaw that will allow the municipality to charge an administration fee to chronic offenders to that bylaw. Again, with the view to just emphasizing the need for people to pay closer attention to how they maintain their properties. That I think is it for me, Mr. Chair. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Rob. This is well done and long overdue. So I thank you for all the work that you put into this, and I'm sure it can do nothing but help. And no matter what, it's not going to be perfect, but we're on the right track, I think. So thanks for this, and look forward to. I wish we had the AMP part of it, the administrative monetary penalty part of it, to help with it, but that's coming. I keep hearing that since May. But anyways, that'll help too with this. So
absolutely.
All right. So I'll look for a motion to go with the recommendation here. Moved by Councillor Webb.
Oh,
and seconded by Councillor Ellis.
Question.
Do you have a comment? Go ahead.
With a question, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councillor Webb had a question there, I think. And then
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just for clarification on the clean yard bylaw, it states $150 inspection administration charge for second offense within 1 year, and then a doubling of this administrative charge for every infraction thereafter. So clarification, once the year's up, do we keep, does the year reset?
Yes, good question through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so the intent would be that the way it will work, I'll give you a scenario. We attend a complaint related to a property maintenance issue. The first inspection is free so long as the offending issues are addressed within the prescribed time frame. If we get another complaint related to any clean yard issue, at that point, we would actually impose a $150 fee. And if we get a third complaint within a year of that complaint, we would double the fee. But the intent is that if the third complaint came after a year, then we would start again at $150.
Okay, understood. And okay, well, I think that clarifies it. I was just getting it in that if it keeps doubling, we're gonna get up to quite an administration charge, and at some point it becomes punitory, right?
That's, yeah, I mean,
So
that's right.
okay, so as long as we're resetting after every year, then I think that's covered. Thank you, Rob.
No,
And very well done.
Oh, thank you.
And if I could expand on that for you, Mayor Martin, if the clock starts ticking at that first call, so that first visit to the property. Yeah. Okay.
And that administration penalty is on top of the cost to do the cleanup initially. So yeah, hopefully this gets things moving, and it's a problem I've had for years, and this should take care of it. So thank you very much. Any other comments on this? Go ahead, Larry.
Just a question. First of all, and thanks again, as we said last meeting, job well done on this and the tools needed. Councillor Webb actually pretty much asked the same question I was going to ask, because I had a couple of questions from constituents saying, what happens that the fine is doubled, but it's still repeating within the same year? Does it just be charged as a double, or does it escalate after being doubled? So I presume it just stays as doubled and repeats again. Is that right, Rob?
No, the intent would be that if we have to attend a fourth time, then so we do the second offense is $150. The third offense would be $300. The fourth, if we have to go there, would be $600.
Okay.
The idea is, and I guess to Councillor Webb's point, we are limited in terms of, the intent of the municipal act is to allow us to recuperate the costs associated with delivering the service. And we get to $600, $1,200. It's hard to argue that that's the actual cost of delivering the service. And so, the hope is that, of course, we'd never have to get there. I mean, it gets to be pretty painful, right, for the individual. But we have other tools that we can use if we get to the point where we think that we're getting to levels that are just really not supportable, and we can, we can rectify the matter using the property standards bylaw and actually making the repairs necessary and ensuring that the costs associated with those repairs are borne by the offender. There's a fine line there, I guess.
Thanks, Rob. That for the viewing audience, they were questioning what happens. So that explains it. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion to go with the recommendation.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by, do you have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Rob. Great job. Next, we're going to move in. Looks like Peter's going to take the floor for the rest of this section, but Peter, welcome. Devil's 4 Mile Otter Creek Bridge.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Martin and members of council. The purpose of this report is for council to approve a bylaw 2022-065 to regulate the gross weight of any vehicle or any class thereof passing over the Otter Creek Bridge, which is better known, which is on the Devil's 4 Mile Road. So it is a limited maintenance road, and we found the information out during the Olson report that was conducted by DM Wills, and this is the recommendation that they have provided for us.
My turn, muted. Anyways, we do have a recommendation here. What's council's thoughts? Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Do I have a seconder?
Second motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Pomeroy seconded. Sorry, they're slow on the call here. Okay, any questions around this recommendation or the motion? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item here is portable speed sign. Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, to members of council. Yes, we did bring a report back on August 9th, I believe it was, regarding some electronic speed signs. This report is to add some more information along with the brochures that are attached in the agenda. Hopefully I can answer any questions that council may have in regarding the speed signs.
Okay. Any questions there? Deputy Mayor Droe, go ahead, and then Councillor Pomeroy.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. There's a significant difference in signs and the costing. I've taken a liberty to drive around and look at some of the signs, and some of them are better than others. And I would ask Peter to comment on this. I think sometimes you're getting, if you pay more, you get certainly getting the value. So Peter, if you could comment on this, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, through you, Mayor Martin, to Deputy Mayor Droe. I have talked and spoke to all the Cedar Signs and Calitech and BMR out of Califord. The Calitech seems to be far more advanced when it comes to software, the recording of the Bluetooth, downloading all the software, the card counts. They can go to they can come out in PDF, they can come out in to your Apple iPhone, they can come to an Android. They're much more of a versatile computer software generated electric speed sign. They are making some trips on the weekend. I've noticed that Marmor Lake has gone with the Calitech, as well as Norwood, our other neighbor to the west. So I do believe that they are further advanced in the software side of the speed signs here presented.
Thank you for that, Peter.
Okay, Barry, you had a comment?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I was with Peter when we looked at these in Toronto the first time. And I got more information again when I was in Ottawa on Calitech, and apples, you got to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and to me it's a much superior product, and it has I think it has an extra year warranty too over the other one. So I would make a motion that we go with Calitech because our neighbors have, and they must be thinking along the same lines that we are. So
is that the premium one or the?
Yes, I think it's 40. What is it, Peter? 43.
52.15.
I don't know.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, the premium is the 5,215, and the regular is the 4,515. And comes with that's in the, as it states there in the report, that includes the shipping as well, and the hardware, solar, everything set up. So I don't believe that we would require a trailer, as these come with 2 bands that attaches very simply to a hydro pole, and we can move them fairly easy. So I think we could definitely save some money there on the trailer side of things.
Perfect. Okay, so we do have a mover, and do you have a seconder there, Councillor Ellis? Are you second?
Yeah, I'd gladly second it. Councillor Pomeroy is right. We viewed those signs, and I think Peter's making the right decision here. We're spending a little bit more money, but the benefits pay. Thank you.
All right, so we have a mover and a seconder, and that's for the premium sign. So is there any other questions or comments around the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item here is the quotations for roof replacement on well 1 and 4. Go
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, to members of council, the purpose of this report is to recommend that the request for quotation, PW Public Works 2022-05 at well 1 and 4, building located at 39 George Street East, be advertised on bids and tenders platform in order to increase our advertising range, as we did not receive any request for quotation during the first quotation that was put out for advertising.
So that's a common theme as far as trying to get contractors right now. And I just wonder, so is the bids and tenders, is it a lot more successful than the old method? Like we try to do the local things, so you put it in the newspaper and put it out on social media, but does the bids and tender hit a wider area, Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I believe it goes Ontario province wide. So it would be definitely a greater area.
Okay. All right then, Deputy Mayor Droe, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Through you, I think something to consider without going far and wide. We have 2 reports from Peter when it comes to roofing. Getting late in the fall. And I would sooner see Peter contact a local contractor or someone with roofing experience. Go and have a look at the roofs to see if they will last till spring. Deal with this subject in the spring. Put out a tender locally in February or March when they're not very busy, to do it that way. It's getting late to do this. We're talking about steel and we're talking about taking steel off, and I personally don't think this is a good time of year to do that. Now, I don't know whether Peter's would agree with that or the rest of the council, but that's my feeling. We have a Havelock Steel Company right here. We have local people. It's just that they're busy right now, and I'd like to see council consider doing that.
Okay. Yeah, and it's something, I don't know what you think of that, Peter, but I'll go to council here, Councillor Pomeroy and then Councillor Ellis.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement with Deputy Mayor Droe. But I would like to know from Peter, I did ask him this question, but I want everyone else to hear it. Is the roof leaking?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Pomeroy, no, not at this time that we're aware of. I'd still like to have on Deputy Mayor Droe's request a contractor though to make sure that we are okay for the winter. I do like that idea, and it gives the local contractors a chance to bid again when maybe they're in a little slower time in, February or March. So.
Okay, because we are at a point where all the contractors are busy right now with the storms we've had. And as far as putting a steel roof on in the wintertime, it's, the expansion and contraction, it's not a good move to put steel on in the wintertime. So I think if it's all possible, we could look at this in the spring.
Yeah. Okay, so Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Excuse me, through you, Mr. Mayor. To add to Deputy Mayor Droe's comments, I think a lot of our local contractors, as we've all said, everybody's busy. So they're not looking for websites and postings because they've got all the work they can handle. I did talk to Peter last week regarding the same issue, and I think it might be, whether we do it now or in the spring, it might be worthwhile touching base with both Havelock Metals and Timbermart, because they have a number of clients, builders, roofers and so on that are in and out there all the time, and they may not even have looked to see if HBM had anything posted. So it might be worthwhile a few minutes of time to touch base with those two locations, to let them, get a couple of names, let them know we're looking for somebody for those two small jobs. Because I'm sure they don't look because they've got so much work. So it might be worthwhile.
So we do have two local building supply centers. Like you say, they have contractors. And so along with what Deputy Mayor Drew is saying there, maybe it's possible to get them inspected, make sure that they're okay to wait till the spring. If there is leaking going on, we'll have more problems than we can handle. But if we can wait till spring, I think you could put it out right now through the local building supply stores to even just and schedule it for the spring. That'll give them all winter to plan on the first thing in the spring to do it. But if that's possible, and that way we're still going through a bidding process where we would, get the costing in that way, but it would be local and it gives them time to wait until they're able to do it. But Councillor Webb, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I was gonna say the same thing. I don't mind the work being put off till next year. But we went through this with other projects that are still being held up from last year where we didn't go to we waited till spring to go through this process. And here we are at the end of the year and the projects aren't done. So I have no problem with having the work put off, but the tender and everything should go ahead with and let them know, what we would like our begin date to do.
And a date.
Well, that's what I mean. We need a date, but I'm just saying we've gone through this on a couple of projects here in this past year where the same thing last fall, it was put off and they're still not done. So I don't want this happening with these projects.
So I think if we could get a motion, okay, go ahead, Peter, and then
Yeah, yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Maybe I could ask Bob to help here a little bit too, but if we're going to put these back out for tender, I'm just thinking about budget. Do we need a pre-approval to carry this forward?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I would like to suggest in answer to the question from the manager of Public Works and comments from council. If we are to approach someone and determine that the job can wait, I would certainly suggest that it's prudent to put the advertisement out as soon as possible. And included in that motion that any budgeted funds that were already allocated to these jobs be carried forward to pay for the job next year when it's done.
so it would all be included in there. So
Right.
I think, and the other part of the motion, yeah, get it inspected, make sure it's okay to wait till the spring, and then carry the funds forward from last year's budget and schedule it to be done, whatever's reasonable, May, April, whatever it is. But I think that would all be a part of the motion, right, Bob?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay.
And also through you, Mayor Martin, we would also add in the motion that if the job cannot wait, I think we should proceed with bids and tenders.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's fair enough. Okay. So it's quite a motion, but it's got everything covered in there. And I think it would be nice if it could wait and give these people time, locals time to bid on it. So does somebody want to make that motion? Dave?
Be happy to make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
It's pretty well what you said, right?
Exactly what, first of all, I would like our manager of Public Works to get a hold of a contractor and see what kind of roof, what kind of shape the roofs are in, and then proceed to see if we can get a local contractor. The question I have with that motion is I would ask our clerk CAO if we're not overstepping our bounds here. We went out once. Is that all that's required?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I don't believe council is overstepping your bounds at all. I think you're getting a professional opinion as to whether the job can wait. And based on that opinion, the advertisement will either proceed immediately or proceed. Well, it will proceed immediately either way. It will either be done immediately or done as soon as possible in the new year.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. Any other questions around this? All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Peter. And that's for for the two roofs. So with that, we'll move into the purchase of the two trucks.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, to members of council.
Okay.
Yeah, the purpose of this report just is to provide information in regards to the purchase of the two new pickup trucks from a dealership and status of the 2015 Public Works trucks 1548 and 1549. Staff reached out to numerous dealers across Ontario to find the new trucks, and we did end up under budget and did save a fair significant amount of money as well. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, good report. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead. You're muted.
Computers. You, Mayor Martin, thank you, Peter, for that. I think we all understood this. I actually think this should have went in under reports for information instead of follow-up action.
Okay. All right then. So yeah, really, we've all authorized it already. So is this just a motion to receive this, Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I think the motion to approve the recommendation would be appropriate.
Okay. All right, so that's moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy.
Question.
Go ahead.
Oh, lame duck, how does it affect us, Rob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, no effect.
No effect, okay. That's
We were
all I
budgeted. It was budgeted for, so.
Yeah.
Correct.
I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
And I see you had to go to what, Toronto to get Queens? Or to get the one truck, Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, that is correct. A lot of the dealerships showed them on their sites, but after numerous phone calls, they were either in transit or not on the lot. So they were showing them in stock, in inventory, but physically the vehicles were not on the property. That seemed to be 99% of the dealers that I had called. That was the end result. I can update here a little bit. The trucks are in our possession. They are right now at Action Plus in Peterborough. They are getting upfitted with the beacon lights. They've been undercoated. As soon as they should be completed today at Action Plus, and we will be putting stickers on each BM stickers through BMR later this week, and hopefully we'll have them in service the start of next week. And at that time, we will proceed and put the two replacement vehicles on the gov deal as soon as possible.
Snow in the forecast Saturday.
Hopefully not.
So, okay. So thank you, Peter. So I do have a mover and a seconder. Is there any other questions around the trucks? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is the lease agreement with the Lions Club. Bob, you want to speak to that?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So this report presents the most recent version of the lease agreement with the Lions Club. This agreement has been discussed several times at council, and the latest version of the lease agreement includes all the provisions as previously approved by council. And this lease agreement is a 3-year agreement with a 3-year renewal clause. And a review at 6 months.
Okay. All right, so there's a recommendation there. What's council's thought? The recommendation is that the commercial agreement with the Lions Club for the use of the space within the Havelock Community Center, as presented in the report of the Chief Administrative Officer dated October 4th, be hereby approved. Councillor Ellis?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to CAO Bob, can you just give us a quick recap of what was changed in the latest version of the agreement?
The only thing that was changed is the Lions Club requested a 3-year renewal clause. So that was included in this arrangement. A very slight change to provision 11, which has to do with the liquor license and the storage of liquor. And based on their permanent license, they don't need to return liquor, they can store it. And those were the only 2 changes.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Councillor Palmer, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wonder, I'm gonna ask Bob. Commercial lease agreement. What is? Can you explain it? Why we went commercial lease agreement? Because it was just an agreement at one time, now we're in a commercial lease agreement. There has to be a reason.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. The reason the wording of commercial lease agreement was requested by the Lions Club. We included that verbiage to satisfy that request.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. A lot of work went into it. Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Excuse me, through you again, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Pomeroy, for bringing that up. I was going to ask CAO Bob, what was the difference between the rental agreement versus commercial? I did try to find out, did a little homework on it. There's different requirements. You know, you can add to it whatever you want, but there's different little requirements from a commercial. And I would ask Bob for his opinion or information back to council on the difference between the 2 agreements. For an example, if you read about it, a commercial agreement, it asks for things like a damage deposit and so on. So I would ask Bob for his opinion of the commercial agreement versus a regular rental.
Right, through you, Mayor Martin, the provisions of a commercial lease agreement are included in this agreement, and there are damage deposits required for anyone renting the space. So we have included that. Beyond that, it really is no different than the agreement we had previously put forth. And it serves the needs of both parties.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
So we have a recommendation. Does somebody want to move the recommendation or? Councillor Webb, you're going to move it. Do I have a seconder for the motion? I'm not seeing any seconder for the motion. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux.
With a comment,
The comment.
we've kicked this around for a long time, and I think council, as we progressed along the road here, we're satisfied. And this is what this is what's come out of it. There will be I believe it's a 6 months review. Thank you, Mayor Martin. So either party has an opportunity just to step out of this. I think we should move forward. That's why I made second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question. We've never seen the books, which we've asked way back when, and are we ever going to see them or?
Nope.
Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we can make a request of the Lions Club to provide books, but it is not part of this lease agreement. It's 2 separate items. And we can certainly make that request.
Well, my point on that was they could have $1 million in the bank and still want the taxpayer to pick up all the expenses. And if they don't have anything in the bank, maybe if Joe Public comes along and says, you know, we're footing the bill here for the Lions Club. Well, we're helping them out. You know, if they don't have a big amount in their bank account. And it's just something to think about. I don't know. It does affect signing a lease as far as I'm concerned.
So this,
We asked for this, you know, way back when, and we still haven't got a look at it or any updates from the Lions. Like I would, it's like giving something away and not knowing why you're giving it. You know, we know what they're after. I got no problem with that, but let's have something for a reason.
and the only thing with that, when I think off the top of my head, and I haven't had a lot of time to think about it, but we have other groups like, say, the Cordova Rec Association, the Women's Institute, and all these other groups. If we're going to ask one group for a financial statement, and because of what we're contributing, we may have to go to all of them and make it a part of the budget process or a part of the contract. But I understand what you're saying. I just wonder where we're going to go with all the rest of the ones that we're giving buildings to and doing things like that. So, Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Well, I think to Councillor Pomeroy's comment, if we go back in the minutes, our meetings, that was a request before we have an agreement that was supposed to be supplied, the financial part of it, before we agree to an agreement for commercial lease. That was supposed to be supplied. I'm sure it's in our minutes.
So the motion that's on the table today doesn't have that in it. So it's up to the mover and the seconder. If you want that included in there, that a financial statement comes forward, or leave it as it is. It's up to you guys.
No, I don't want it in there.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Carruthers.
Just to your point, Mr. Mayor, we don't do this to other groups, so I don't understand why we're doing this to the Lions in this instance. If anybody thinks the Lions has a huge bank account that they're sitting on, I think you're fooling yourself. You know, that's basically what you're saying. So
Not fool everybody.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor, duly seconded. So is there any other comments around this? I'm going to call it. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I take into consideration the councillor's remarks. And I firmly believe that the Lions Club should divulge their finances, whether they're $1 or $100 million. But that, you got to understand, that's a private thing, so anything that would be divulged, council would only be to council and not to the rest of the public. But when we do this, and I wish, like, I shouldn't say wish, but it won't be this council. So the 6 month review, we have to have minutes of this to remind council this all has to be talked about in the 6 month review. We need follow-up action here. This is just the first step as far as I'm concerned. So I agree, we need more information, but we've kicked this around for a long, long time, and they're using it anyway and calling it their own. We just haven't given them any money yet. So I don't know whether we received any. And I asked a question some time ago. The original one was that they were to pay HBM $2 a year. I don't know whether that was even honored or not. So there's all kinds of questions out there. So whatever. I agree with all that was said. Thank you.
So it might be a note to have for the whoever's here next time, the in the review, we can still ask for it, and it can come to council specifically. It doesn't have to be a public thing. But there is a motion on the floor, and I'll call a question. All in favor? Oh, sorry, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, simple little thing as far as I'm concerned. is if we have a closed session with the Lions, they can state their, you know, where they're at. And I would be satisfied with that. They have not came forward with that. They don't need to be made public. It can be made in caucus. But everyone here that sits here is responsible. And you can, you know, if we pass this and somebody questions it out in Joe Public questions it, we can say we thoroughly looked at it and we support it. You know, I would probably be in, well, I would be in favor of supporting it. But I want the previous documentation that we asked for. And we seem to be getting ignored. But if you had a closed session on the same thing, put everyone's mind at ease, pass it and get rid of it. But you just don't go ahead, as far as I'm concerned, and pass something and then say, well, now we want to see your books. Well. Okay, carry on.
So that isn't a part of the motion, just so speak to the motion. Councillor Webb, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, how long have we been
I know.
doing this lease agreement? We're going on to 2 years to complete a lease agreement that should have been done in a month.
Could have been done.
Well, I have no confidence that with this closed meeting session that you want to have, that it's gonna be over. We're just gonna come up with a new problem.
No, you shouldn't.
Well, I
Okay,
know
so,
we shouldn't. We shouldn't have 6 months ago.
okay,
But
through
I'm
the
just saying
chair.
the way it's going, it's never gonna get done.
Okay, so through the chair here, we have a motion on the floor and it's seconded. I'm gonna call a question here. All in favor of the motion? So it's defeated. So, okay. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Giroux. And then Councillor Ellis.
Well, the meeting is defeated. I want to see this move forward. So let's ask the Lions Club to sit down with us and then we can move forward.
Okay, so a motion, so you can make that a motion, Dave, that the other one was
Yes.
defeated. So a motion to see where that goes.
As soon as possible, Lions Club sit down and have a quick meeting with council and say, listen, we don't have any money. This is what we got. I don't know whether it can be open and closed. I don't care if it's an open, as long as the Lions Club has no problem with that. But we need to move this forward.
So, okay, so Deputy Mayor Giroux is making a motion that we invite the Lions in. This is something that's been there again, but invite them again for whether it's closed or open to discuss this and move it on. So they do have a committee that does this. So there's a motion on the floor. Councillor Ellis?
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor, but I want to make sure the motion is clear that the meeting is to address the financial situation of the Lions prior to an agreement.
That's all. Thank you, Councillor Ellis, for that. And that's all. I could have put that in my motion. That's all we're going to talk about, nothing else.
And so I'll gladly second that motion with another comment.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Ellis with a comment.
Okay, in regards to this being drug out for 2 years, as Councillor Webb has said, and he's right, it has hung on, but there's a reason for that. The council put together a package way back when, but it was never acceptable, and we keep trying to appease and add stuff to it. If we'd have stuck probably to our original agreement at the start that we offered them, it would have been a done deal. But we're trying again to appease and help the Lions Club at the same time. So that's the reason for the 2 years of dragging it out.
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder that we invite the Lions into a meeting. I'm going to call a question then. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So, all right then, we'll move on. So Our next is correspondence action items, and the first item on here is the outdoor rink in the Cordova Mines, and that's something that's been neglected over the past few years, whether it's COVID or whatever. We did used to paint the black on the pavement and to try and help with the freezing, and it has some board issues, which we've had ever since we've done it. So I don't know, Bob, it needs to be addressed before winter. Right now it's unsafe. Somebody's going to get hurt. So I just wonder what you need here with regards to giving this to Ryan or whoever to bring back something for us at the next meeting.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I would suggest a resolution to obtain costs for this work. And we can bring that back to the next council meeting, at which time council can make a decision as to whether staff should proceed with these repairs as requested.
Okay. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we have Brian come back and have a look at it and further to Bob's comments there, maybe get some prices on what is needed.
Okay, Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, could we add to that motion to look to see where the funding could come from? If there's any kind of grant process or where we have money that would pay for it in the motion?
Is that okay with you, Councillor Pomeroy?
Yep.
Okay, so you're seconding that then, Councillor Ellis?
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other comments or questions around this? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a letter from North Kawartha with regards to Crow Valley and some of the issues that all of our townships are facing. This is going to be coming to our next board meeting. So for today, I would suggest that we look for a motion to receive this until it goes to the board. It missed the last board meeting, so there will be discussion about this, and there is a lot of things going on that needs to be addressed, and they've hit a lot of the things on here because we've had the same problem. So it's up to council, but I would look for a motion that we receive this report from North Kawartha.
Motion received.
Okay, moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and thank you. The next item here is the COVID vaccines, and the index is moving up. So just it's a report on COVID, and they're still looking for people to move ahead. So I'll just look for a motion to receive this report with the COVID index. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Seconded. Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. Oh,
The question, Mr. Mayor?
go ahead, sorry.
If the COVID cases keep increasing, has staff had any consideration of changing how we're doing business to protect the municipal staff?
Bob, have you hit that point yet?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we continue to monitor the situation. At this point, we don't see a need for any change. There are no mandates to change any behavior at this point. However, depending on how serious the situation gets, we could return to masks and distancing and other things. We do have staff currently that are wearing masks. We do have the rule, if anyone has been exposed or is not feeling well any given day, we put the masks on. So we do have staff wearing masks at this time.
So I think it's just something we're gonna have to keep monitoring. It's The reason I'm not in the office today is because of my positive test. So anyways, we'll, we gotta do the best we can, and hopefully we can get going through this and get on with things. So anyway, so with that, we'll move into the next item, and it's committee liaison reports or activity reports. The first thing here is county council. Dave, did you have anything on county council? Oh, was there a question there? Sorry.
Yeah, I have one. So, are we gonna be waiting until it's mandated for the move on the COVID? I haven't just want to ask Bob that question. Because
Through you, Mayor Martin, no, we won't wait until it's mandated. Unlikely that there will be any more mandates. So we will take action as a group. Staff, as I said earlier, continues to monitor the situation. So no, we won't be waiting for mandates. We will do what we need to do.
okay.
I would caution the public, if I may, through you, Mayor Martin. Election day is coming, October 24th. Paper ballot voting will take place here in the council chamber as in the previous election. And we just ask everyone to be mindful of COVID and what's happening with COVID. We may have to enforce distance and masking rules. We shall see how that goes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right then. So we're moving into liaison reports. And did you have anything, Dave, from the meeting at all to report? Our county council?
Thank you, Mayor Martin. There wasn't really anything particularly to our municipality. We had a good meeting. I think one thing is worthy to note that Stuart Harrison, our president and CEO of Peterborough and the Kawartha Chamber of Commerce, is retiring, and the introduction of Sarah Boyd, Bud, I guess it is, who will take over Stu's responsibility. So I'm not exactly sure when his final day is. I know he was on TV this week doing Stu's report. So, but they give him quite a send off, and I thought it was great to report that. I know that this week, even though it wasn't on our meeting, Peterborough County plowing match was on, and I believe what's the first name? The Defoe.
Amy
Defoe won the Queen of the Furrow, and I asked her and said, "You better look and see a good name on there." So anyway, it was a good day. I wasn't able to attend, but yeah. Anyway, that's about it for me. Unless you pick something else up, Mayor Martin.
No, that's about it. We did have some discussion with Peterborough housing and homelessness. Quite a discussion on there. And then we had a separate meeting last week with that group. I did with my joint services, and yeah, cold season is coming as far as housing, and things aren't very good in the city right now or the county. So there's a committee working on that, and hopefully we can get something moved. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty well it. And yeah, things are winding down. There's not a lot of business happening at the county right now. With 2 more meetings left, I think, one tomorrow and a couple meetings anyways, and then the last one will be in person. So other than that, that's it. So other things here is Eastern Trails Alliance minutes of the meeting from July 14th, Dave. I don't know if there's anything to add to them, or anybody got any questions around them. If not, I'll take a motion to receive them.
You have to answer any questions, and if not, motion to receive.
Okay, somebody want to move to receive those minutes from the Eastern Trail Alliance? Okay, Larry and Dave, all in favor? And that's carried. The next item is Councillor Pomeroy with the library board minutes from September 1st. I don't know whether you have anything to add to them.
Yeah, I missed the September the 1st one as I was away. I had a tour. We had another meeting here last week. So I had a tour of the downstairs. They've got painted and freshened up and ready for the Historical Society. And hopefully we can have them moved in, you know, within the month, because it's looking very good down there, and they're gonna have to have some time to clean up some of the old stuff that's coming out of the bottom of the town hall. So if things are looking good.
Do you have any more meetings with the library board, Barry?
Should have one in October, or no, yeah, in October we do, yeah, the 22nd, I think.
It'd be nice to get a schedule of when that's gonna be open, as far as, I would hope that they're not just gonna store stuff, that it'll be opened regularly so people can go and visit it.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
a schedule.
I think they were talking about the same hours as the library
Good.
open for the. And they are talking about having a Halloween party there for the kids on the 29th, I think. Well, I think it's in the minutes there. So.
Okay. So that's all we have for liaison reports. A motion to receive those minutes from the library board. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. The next item is written or oral notice of motion, and I have something here for an oral notice of motion that I would like to see council put forward. We've had a lot of discussions around the Matheson property, and we put a lot of money into there. The one thing we talk about, but we haven't done yet, and I was talking to the OPP yesterday, we still have issues with four-wheelers tearing it up. We talk about cameras, we haven't done it yet, and I just think that we need to ask staff to bring forward a costing for signage and 5 or 6 cameras in there to help us get it under control. I know our bylaw stops them up. I think it's November 30th that the ATVs are supposed to be off the roads and trails, and they don't come back till April. But that being said, cameras worth, or the pictures worth 1,000 words, and I think we need to at least get a costing so we're ready. There's a report coming from staff at the next October meeting, and they've been working on the issues back there with the OPP and our bylaw enforcement officer, and they're going to bring that report on at the next meeting. But it would be nice to be prepared if we had a costing of what the cameras would cost, and maybe we can move that forward too, or at least get it on the books. It's up to council. I can't make the motion, but if you're okay with it, I would like to see that. Councillor Ellis, go ahead. You're moving.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd gladly make that motion, but just to add to your comments, through our Matheson Property Committee, we have talked several times about that certain topic with cameras for security and to prevent some of the damage. And I don't know whether Ryan's on the meeting here or not, but that was one of his assignments as to costing out and finding out exactly what all we could use in there. So
okay, that's good, because I know some of the signs that he put up have been ripped off too. He put special fasteners on them, and didn't matter about the fasteners because they didn't use them to get them off. Anyways, they're gone too. So
yeah, so I'm not sure, is Ryan at our meeting today or?
no, I don't see him on here.
Don't see. Anyway, he is working on that issue, but costing will be some of the unknown yet.
So as a council, like that committee can't really bring those things forward. They can suggest it to council. So if we could do it here to direct staff to get that costing, it would help us to get it moving. So if you want to make that motion, that would be great.
I'll gladly make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
And Deputy Mayor Giroux, did you want to second that?
I would second that with a comment, Mr. Mayor. It's really heartbreaking that what we try to accomplish over there as a council and as a municipality. Oh, you got it. And there's only a few bad apples, and it's like I said, it's heartbreaking. We go, we work, and we try and establish a nice trails. I know Councillor Webb has worked his butt off trying to get this all done. It only takes punks, and that's what I'm gonna call them, 3 or 4 or 5 of them, sneak in there and ruin it all for everyone. We got to do something, and I don't know what it is. Our local ATV club, they're disheartened too, because it all reflects back on them. And they're a good bunch of people, and it's not them that's doing it. These people don't even belong to a club or have a trail permit. Some of them don't even have a license on their bike. So we've got to be able to do something. I asked the OPP months ago if there's anything we can do to help them. I never got an answer. I don't know what it is. We have, starting at our eastern border of the trails that we own on the EOTA, a good representation of the police. They have their ATVs, and they've laid a lot of tickets this year for trespassing, no permits, down in the Crow Valley Conservation Area where the bikes weren't supposed to be, and so on. I guess our area don't have the kind of resources to help us out. I don't know what the answer is, but we better find one out. Otherwise, there's going to be a vigilante group go up on there one Saturday, and it's going to get out of hand because we've had enough. This is just terrible. So I don't know, in regards, some of the things we're working on through staff, perhaps we might be able to get a trail to the south of town instead of the north. So I don't know. I don't have an answer, but I certainly think that if we can put some cameras in there strategically placed where they don't see them, you rip them off the trees or whatever we put them on, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Okay, so like I say, I'm talking to Bob and Brian. There is a report coming at the next council meeting. I know Rob Lamar's been involved in it, our bylaw enforcement and the OPP. So they have something coming. They did try to do some things over the last little while. You might have noticed some stones trying to block the entrances. There's so many entrances into there that, you know, I don't think that's completely the answer. So this is another step. And I know myself, I ran the Snowmobile Club for a lot of years. And when you close the trail down, it takes a long time to get it through to people that it's not open. This year, like you say, it's 6 bad apples. The call I had on Saturday was, there was 6 of them in there. Anyways, we'll see, but this is just so the motion is that we bring this back to add to the report that staff is bringing, that we look at the costing for cameras and signage and see if we can move forward with it. So I have a mover and a seconder. Any other questions or comments? Going to call a question then, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, our next item is new business. And the first items here are from Deputy Mayor Giroux. Oh, Larry, go ahead. You're muted.
All right. Before we move on, I had an item as well for a verbal notice of motion.
Okay.
Because we're getting close to the end of this term, I would ask our CAO, Bob Angione, if he could supply what I call, and I presume that's the CAO's name for it, is the CAO action plan, the items that are either outstanding or in the works, issues, and you can even add to it the completed projects as well. But we have a number of them that I would like to see for council and the viewing audience, where we stand and what's not completed, what we've done, and the outstanding issues that need to be addressed. I think it'd be very helpful. I know personally for myself, when this term is done, I'll be kind of monitoring the new council to see how they're doing and watch for some of these items to be completed. So I would like to add that as a verbal notice of motion.
Okay. So that's a notice of motion, and that, how does that work? I know I got a seconder for the other one. I don't even know whether I was supposed to. I think it's just a notice of motion to bring it to the next council. Is that right, Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, a notice of motion is exactly as it's called. You'll be bringing a motion to the next meeting.
Yeah, so I did it wrong myself. So anyway, so that notice of motion is on there, Councillor Ellis, and yeah, it's a good point. It'll give us a refresher of where our priority list was, and it's kind of like a strategic plan, but not a strategic plan. It'll give us an update of what we finished, and it'll help the next council move forward if they do something.
And there are just outstanding issues that need to be addressed. I think there's one on the agenda here under Deputy Mayor Giroux. There's an outstanding issue with the fire department. So that's the kind of issues I'm speaking to, as well as projects.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right then. So that's a notice of motion. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to know some motion. I just want to know, or would like an answer on. Where's our development charges going, or
Is that,
where are they at, Bob?
is that in the new business, or where are you going, Barry?
Well, I just want to know what answer. You know, I only got one thing here that I'm asking, and it's like the Lions agreement. We've been going for years and years and years. Months and months, and I don't know whether we ever got a forward go on that or not, Bob.
So that would be a notice of motion. That could be a
Okay.
notice of motion, Barry, that the next
Okay.
meeting would get a report from staff on
Could you just give me a verbal one?
go in and see the map.
Just forget it. I'll talk to Bob later. I'll get a verbal one. I
Okay.
don't like all this paperwork. Just give me a yes or no, or maybe so.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I can address that question right now. Development charge bylaw is a work in progress. As you know, this year, we did have a few changes in personnel at our township. That project primarily involves a treasurer and our chief building official who are working on that. Both of those positions have changed. So that we are still working with our consultants. That item, further to Councillor Ellis's notice of motion, that is an item that remains on the work in progress list. It has not fallen off. It still remains there. It's a lengthy process. And there will be a bylaw coming forward in the new year to implement development charges.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
All right then. So we'll move into the next new business, and Deputy Mayor Giroux, you're first on the list there with 3 items.
Yes, I was going to step in there and say point of order. I think we get off track, but however, Lions Club lease agreement has been settled. We requested for an update. Community grant policy request for staff to bring forward a policy. This has been going on for some time, and I am only assuming that that staff has been working on this, and it's like one of those things. I know they're busy and it hasn't come forward, but it's something that I would like to see perhaps before we're done this council. So I don't know whether Bob wants to comment on that or not, but that's
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, to Deputy Mayor Giroux, thank you for that question. Community grant policy is an item. I have been working with our new treasurer on that. We've bounced around several different ideas on this. We can make it as complex as we want, or we kind of like the keep it short and simple approach. And we are working on that, and we do anticipate bringing a policy forward prior to the expiration of this council.
Thank you, Bob. The other thing, and I don't really understand why I brought this forward. I understand why I brought it forward, but I don't know why I should have to. We all know we haven't been out without a deputy fire chief. We all know we haven't had a deputy fire chief for some time. I don't really know why. Once we lost him, as far as I'm concerned, we should have went out for one. So a resolution for council to proceed with the filling of the vacant position of the deputy fire chief. I mean, we're back in the same situation where the chief is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I think this is not a good situation. We're looking at liability policies. We haven't got a report from the chief for some time, and it's the onus is on council here as far as I'm concerned to go. That's my comment.
Okay, Bob.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, if you wish to pass a motion today to ensure that we proceed, we are going to work towards that. There is an advertisement being drafted to replace the deputy fire chief position. And that should be coming forward soon. As council knows, our fire chief isn't able to join us today due to the passing of his father. So we extend condolences to him and his family. He has been working on new recruits for the fire department, but we can absolutely put forward that advertisement.
Okay. So Dave, is that what you're putting forward? You want to do that today?
I prefer to do it today, yes, unless I need to bring it back because it's a resolution. If I do, I can bring it back the next meeting.
It was on the agenda.
So, well, then I'm going to make a motion to do that. We can't stick our heads in the sand anymore here. If council doesn't want to do it, that's up to them. But I'm leaving, as we all know. But I'm not leaving with a good taste in my mouth when it comes to not having a deputy fire chief, one man doing it all. Unless somebody can explain to me that everything's on the cool here, I can't see it.
So we have a motion on the floor from Deputy Mayor Giroux that we proceed with the filling the vacant position at the fire department.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
And that's seconded by Councillor Ellis. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead. Sorry.
So I would presume that there's already a previous job description and requirements, the key elements and all the good things that would go in posting. That should be probably already in place. So it's a matter of posting it. So I would direct that to CAO Bob.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, there is a previous job description. Absolutely, that exists. So but as council will recall, there was not an advertisement in the previously filled position. So the advertisement would be new. The job description would remain the same.
Does that, Bob, in your opinion, does that description need to be modified in any way before it goes out?
Through you, Mayor Martin, staff always reviews job descriptions every time we put an ad out for a new position. Things do change occasionally, so absolutely we will review that. I don't think anything will need to change there, but we always do that.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
We have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead, speak to the motion.
Yeah, the thing that bothered me is if you get a deputy fire chief, we're gonna advertise for it. Should they live in Havelock? You know, that's a question I have, because if you're going to be hiring a deputy full-time, they should live, you know, somewhere near Station 1.
Well, I imagine that'll be a part of the interview process, but Dave, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I would ask staff to follow up legally on that. I know we have permanent firemen living all over the country, but these are not classed as permanent. They're classed as volunteer. So I don't know how to answer that question, but perhaps we should get legal opinion on that. It certainly would be nice, Councillor Pomeroy, if we can get somebody. But if we can't get somebody in-house, we're going to continue on the way we are with nothing. So I would ask that like, I guess I don't know whether to make that part of the motion or not, but I would ask Bob to check into that legally.
Bob, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Typically, we cannot dictate where a potential employee would live. I'm happy to get a legal opinion on that. But I believe when we put an ad out, we'll see where we get, who we get, and they can choose to live where they wish.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor that we fill the vacant position, and it's seconded. If there's no other comments around or questions around that, I'm going to call a question. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. So, okay. And so mine, I was hoping that's going to be farther along. This is something that I, talked at my mayor's meeting last week around storm relief and some of the things that have been going on over this summer. And there was two things there. One was around trying to get some extra cleanup done on some of our areas of our township that were hit really hard. And it was around, they're not going to give secondary residents money. They're not going to give townships money unless you meet a threshold. So it was just something around trying to see if we could step it up with hydro when they're clearing the right of ways, that maybe they can clear some extra brush that's built up in some of these hard hit areas. I was hoping to be farther along on that part of it. I haven't talked to Dave Smith about it yet, but just through a conversation at our meeting last week, but not in detail. The other thing was tree planting, whether we do it with our own tree planting. We give out trees in the spring. A lot of people lost a lot of trees. If there's anything we can do, but that being said, I was going to ask the province if there's some sort of a program that some of these people could get some help to replace some of the trees that they lost during the storm. So, like I say, I was hoping to be farther along. I got it put on before the agenda closed last week, but when I'll work on it and I'll let you know where it goes anyway. So I don't need any motion or anything like that to write the letter yet. I just want to make sure I'm on the right track. So that's why it was thrown on there. So that's all I have for new business here. Is there any other new business before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move into bylaws. And we have a few bylaws here. So the first bylaw is the property standards bylaw, which we had discussed. Somebody want to move that we go ahead? Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor? And that's carried. The clean yard bylaw, same discussion. Motion to move that bylaw. Councillor Pomeroy, Councillor Webb, all in favor, and that's carried. The next one is the fees and charges for this. Look for a motion to move that bylaw.
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Pomeroy, all in favor, and that's carried. The Otter Creek Bridge, the bylaw to vote the weight, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux, seconder to that, Councillor Webb, all in favor, and that's carried. And the last bylaw is a confirmatory bylaw for today's meeting. Look for a motion for that. Councillor Webb, Councillor Ellis, all in favor, carried. And motion to adjourn, Councillor Pomeroy, and nobody wants to leave. Councillor Pomeroy is moving that we adjourn, and Councillor Ellis is seconding that. All in favor, and that's carried.